So I'm Larry Nimmer. First off, how did I end up in Carpinteria? Grew up in West LA. My dad was a law professor at UCLA and the world authority on copyright law. I applied to UCLA to go to school, and I got in my second choice, Berkeley, and had a good time there. And by the way, I needed a B average to get into UC at the time, and I had to get an A in physics to get that B average. And my teacher was giving me a C, and I told him, if you don't change it to an A, I don't get into UC. So he changed it. That was a fortunate thing. Went to Berkeley. I had always had a hobby as photography. I learned, in filmmaking, I learned video starting in '71 in Berkeley. Then I became a freelance video producer and moved to San Francisco, worked for a KPIX TV, a CBS affiliate, went on to made music videos, made Christian videos, made Jewish videos, and religious videos, but music videos, and that brought me to LA. I convinced my wife to move to LA. She wasn't from LA, I was. She said, well, after 5 years, if you're not super successful, then I get to decide where to go. And 5 years later, I was still somewhat struggling in LA, and this is '91. And she wanted to move to Seattle, but we compromised on Carpinteria because my dad bought a beachfront property on Padaro Lane in 1970 for $35,000. And fortunately, we still have it in the family, although my sister just sold half of her share. But anyway, so we moved to Carpinteria. I continued my video production work, and actually I turned into being more successful in Carpinteria than I was in LA, being a big fish in a small pond. Let's see. A little bit what I might talk about is the field of video production, which has changed a lot since '51. When I first went to broadcast school at San Francisco State in '79, it was 2-inch tape that they would record on, and these big reels. And if you didn't put the lock on properly, when you fast forwarded, it would fly off, and people had been known to lose arms that way. So now it's all digital on the iPhone. I shoot with my iPhone a fair amount. But anyway, got here in '91. I was watching Community Access TV. I saw a city council meeting where they announced they needed volunteers for the Library Commission. I went to City Hall and was interviewed by Paul Marangella, the city manager at the time. I told him I'm into video production. He said, well, why don't you work here at our TV station at City Hall? And so where they broadcast the meetings at City Hall at the time in '91 was in the women's bathroom. It was actually a closet off the women's bathroom, but it was a woman that ran it at the time, and she was just retiring, so they moved the production facility into the storeroom, and I started I would broadcast the meetings. Nothing too creative, but it was fun and interesting. Well, so I've made a living basically since the '70s as a freelancer. And I'm it turns out I'm a one-man band. I do everything myself. I shoot, write, direct, edit, so forth. Some projects I've hired others if there's the money. Actually, one thing I did in San Francisco was, well, actually, let me play a video or two now. The first video I'm going to play was my first quarter at Berkeley, actually, and I shot this on Super 8, and it will start in just a second. This is me, and it's called My First Quarter at Berkeley. It's basically an anatomy of a riot. Every day the same thing would happen. Students would come out, lunchtime there'd be a rally. By the way, the music's by the Cal Marching Band, and they have all this good fight music, and it went well with my riot movie. Anyway, the students would meet, there'd be a presentation, the cops would be lined up behind the students, street people would throw rocks over the students and hit the cops would get mad and start throwing tear gas. I'm gonna scoot forward here. Start throwing tear gas, and then the students would get gas and they'd get mad, and then they start throwing cops at the tear gas, throwing rocks at the cops, at the tear gas too maybe. And then it would be finally dispersed and everybody went to school with scarves around their necks for the tear gas. Oh, this is a street person with a rock launcher. So the cops would take it for quite a while. And I'm just going to scoot around a couple more shots. Play a little music. They overturned an ROTC truck, and I've been shooting fire ever since. More recently, I've been shooting fire at the Burning Man Festival. So now the students are going to start going crazy. And I'll just play one or two more things. I think on the music he's going to go crazy. Anyway, that was in 1970. After I graduated from Berkeley, went to San Francisco, I started making music videos. I started in 1980, the year before MTV went on the air. And then in '81, I made this next video, Cool Places, and it was a good field to get into at the time. Let me get Cool Places going. Some of you oldsters may recognize it. It's with Sparks and Jane Whelan of the Go-Go's. And these are little miniature models. We made this on 16 millimeter. And it was a good field to be in, except everybody started going into that field, and particularly feature film directors would do a music video just to try out new effects and all, and it kind of pushed all of us out of the field. So then for a while I went into doing Christian do-good stories, and I'm Jewish, but I think I was particularly objective, and they liked it. And then I went to LA, I worked for this Christian organization. I got an Emmy nomination there. So I like to promote the fact that I'm an Emmy-nominated producer. I got to have some respect. But it was for local religious programming. So it's not like miniseries or anything like that. Now I'm going to mention Man on the Street. Let's see. Well, at KPIX TV, this is my most recent, my Man on the Street file. I have 4 or 5 years worth of columns here. I'll just park it there for a second. When I came to CARP, there was the Herald paper, and then Michael Van Stry and others started at the Coastal View, and I said, I'd like to do a column, the Man on the Street column. I'll go out and ask the question of the week. And at the time, the Man on the Street was at KPIX where I was working. They'd send a crew out and say, do the Man on the Street and ask, what's your favorite ice cream or whatever. It was basically asking the average person on the street. They called it Man on the Street. So that was my idea when I started the column. I'll go ask the average person on the street. But over time, I became the man on the street. And I didn't argue with that. I kind of like that. But anyway, I just find that ironic. Each time, I've had a different question since 1976, most weeks, although I do repeat questions. And one way I come up with the question is I'll look at somebody and I might ask you, well, what underwear do you wear? I could ask you that. I'm not sure why I came up with that. Now that's a little, that's a little too risque. I have gotten 2 or 3 pitchforks for the Man on the Street answers over the years. One of them was, I asked girls, what would you like it if you could be a man? And a girl said, I could have a Jewish beard. I like that, I'm Jewish, but I got a pitchfork for that. The other was, what's something funny? And a teen girl said, farts under the covers, and I got a pitchfork for that. But anyway, so be it. One little different about my column is I answer it each week too, and I try to do something honest. What's your typical nightmare? My answer was, can't find my classroom. Okay, so I'm in Carpinteria. I have to find work. I did computer animation in LA for lawyers for use in the courtroom. I was flown to Japan and I shot the steps that L-tryptophan went through. And L-tryptophan was being sued by people who died from taking it. So I wanted to show how clean the process was when they made it. And then computer animation was made out of that. So when I moved to Carpinteria, I started up with my wife, Melissa, Nimmer Legal Graphics, which was multimedia for use of attorneys in the courtroom. And well, it helped that my dad was a famous name in the law. I'll play one of my most famous case was working for Michael Jackson, as was mentioned. I was hired by his attorneys, Tom Mesro and Bob Sanger in Santa Barbara, to document Neverland Ranch. This is the Martin Bashir documentary, but I was told to document Neverland Ranch because Michael's attorneys wanted the jurors to go see Neverland Ranch. The judge didn't want them to go, but said you can have a video. So they hired me to make a tour of Neverland. So I was at Neverland off and on for a month. And then I narrated my footage at trial. You're not seeing too much of it here. Well, here's his library. Anyway, that was really interesting. And by the way, my opinion was Michael was definitely innocent. It was particularly in this trial, they were just out to get money. And from my understanding, the other accusers were out to get money. And Michael was naive and had bad people around him. Next, I'm going to show, so that's part of, and one of my mission statements is to give people a platform to express themselves. So that's done in Man on the Street. And one of the first projects in Carpinteria, I pitched to City Hall, and that was to do Carpinteria Then and Now, the history of Carpinteria from prehistoric times to today, although the today was, I think, 97 or so. And so this is online. It's called Carpinteria Then and Now.
The Indians took their own canoes to the water to greet this strange act.
Carpinteria Avenue was known as the Old Coast Highway. A paper in 1875.
I'm just jumping around a little bit.
For building the railroad beds. At Ortega Hill.
The asphaltum mines.
During its prime, the quality of the Carpinteria asphalt was so good that printers used it for ink. Most of gases and steam. It turned out bad. Depression and bankruptcy soon closed the doors of the club.
So the way I was able to make money on this was Teresa Roop at City Hall went to businesses and said, would you like to contribute towards Carpinteria Then and Now? And the city put in some money, and that's how that came about. On Carpinteria's 50th anniversary, I made Carpinteria at 50, and that was 6 or 7 years ago. Actually, a little more than that. I'll just play that. You can see the quality has changed a lot, and now it's Carpinteria. Has been around since before recorded history. That was actually a helicopter shot, and now I have a drone. All small-time videographers have to have a drone. And this documented 50 years of Carpinteria's history since it became a city. Jane Diaz, the city manager. I'm not the city clerk. There's the Lions Club being built.
Strange. cul-de-sac, and I can't even get into my home anymore, and I wake up in the morning, and there are people everywhere, and there's diapers coming over the, the bushes.
Overtime.
So this was the big issue then, overcrowding in Carpinteria and neighbors not liking a lot of people with a ton of people in their houses. Somehow that's kind of gotten worked out. It's not the big issue anymore. I guess there's various things. It's interesting what the big issues have been in Carpinteria. And some of the big ones was Veneco oil, freeway widening, traffic to nurseries. More recently, it's cannabis at the nurseries. What other big issues? Development in town's always been a big one, the bluffs and so forth. But anyway, that's Carpinteria at 50. Here's a little more light-hearted version of a Carpinteria video. Every time my son and his kids visit from Boston, we make a homemade video. And this is... So this is a takeoff on Old Town Road, which was popular a number of years ago, and we did this music video here in Carpinteria. By the way, anybody's welcome to ask me questions at any time. You can just yell out a question if you have it.
Are those your grandchildren?
Yeah, those are my grandchildren.
They're from Boston?
Those are from Boston.
Laker shirt?
Yeah. One of the ideas I came up with to make money is touring with the candidates. And I did this with the League of Women Voters for a number of years in Santa Barbara and then the city of Carp. And that is, well, I'll show you. I'll do Carp from 2012. And I'm going to explain it to you. If there were 6 candidates, I'd give each candidate 20 minutes of camera time to give a tour, their tour of the town. And I would start in their home and follow them around. They had to tell me when to turn on and off the camera because they only got 20 minutes of tape time. And people thought it was a good way to see another side of the candidate and have them express themselves. The league said they didn't have the money to do it after a number of years, and the city of Carp said they can't pay me to do it because it's a liability to them. They could be sued for supporting a political thing, even though it's not necessarily one-sided.
Thanks for having me today. Welcome. Very good. This is my wife, Lisa Gervitz. She is currently...
I'll just pop around a few spots.
I think it's very possible to do that, but it's something that city council is going to have to
Check out concrete, everything is permeable as far as the hardscape up to Rose Potters National Forest.
This is the side of the Bluffs 2 proposed resort property.
By the way, I've been doing the parades, the Avocado Festival, and many things for the city of Carp for 25 years. But with the new city manager, he's basically told me they don't have money anymore to pay for any of the videos. The city is apparently in bad financial shape at the moment. So I'm kind of disappointed that I won't be able to continue the series of documentations I've been doing, but so be it. I mentioned that in case you want to go to our city manager. He says, we got to do the videos still. Marsh Park. Let's look at a Marsh Park video. Well, when I heard the Marsh Park was being built in town, I went and saw how I could get a part of that, and I got a grant from the Coastal Conservancy, the Land Trust, and the City of Carp to make a couple videos about the Carpinteria Salt Marsh.
Protect and restore marshes and other wetland areas for the benefit of people and nature. This is the story of one community, Carpinteria, California, that took a weedy field that was often a dump site and restored it into the marsh that it once was.
My most popular video ever was I was sitting at Lucky Llama one day, and there was a commotion, and Al Gore's daughter was getting married under the Torrey Pine, and I used it to try to promote my Everyone Has a Story. I've had a lot of projects over the years. Most of them haven't developed into anything, but this was, she was getting married, I started filming it, and then I went up to him and say, what's the secret to a good wedding? And he was, a good marriage, he was standing right next to his ex-wife Tipper, and it didn't go over too well, but. Oh, and I think I licensed this to CNN. A number of things I've shot over the years, if it's newsworthy, I've in some cases been able to sell the footage. I've been going to the Burning Man Festival for 20 years, and partly from that, I've learned to be into performance art. And as was mentioned, I dance every year, New Year's usually, from Carpinteria to Santa Barbara. It started off as getting some good exercise at least once a year. And so I have a different theme each year. This year I dressed up as Hamilton because the Hamilton musical was a big deal.
Well, I guess my story is where you asked the appropriate question to the
Oh, I hear two videos going at once. Oh, look at all those videos. Sorry, everybody. So I'm not doing PowerPoint, I'm just doing links from videos. I always send out press releases when I'm doing something to get publicity. In this case, KEYT caught up with me, and so I can promote myself. I'm not selling anything this year. I've done a few Rotary Talks before. That's my wife, Tara. Now I'm going to show something else. Let me stop this. Any questions yet? Okay, well, let's go to Dance for Karaoke TV. I've had a karaoke TV show. It was on Community Access, but the clubs kind of pay me to do it. I do an all-ages karaoke show at Giovanni's Pizza, and it's particularly good for the kids having literacy practice, reading off the screen, doing karaoke. It's also fun for all ages to be able to sing and play together. And the very little kids will sing the ABCs and all. I'm kind of proud of that. Let's see, I still have a little bit of time. Currently, I've always been looking for a project with a UC professor, thinking they have access to funds. So a couple years ago, I saw there was a professor hosting a Maya Forest Gardener from Belize and getting an award from the chancellor. So I contacted her. I documented him coming out. I've now been to Belize. I have a PayPal project starting up, and this is a promo for it, and it shows how his farming methods help fight global warming, and it's basically regenerative ag. Some of my stuff I narrate, other times I have other people narrate it. And I got a lot of experts talking on camera, and I'm hoping they're going to help sell it for me.
What do you mean by the lack of the Maya forest?
Well, the question is are there going to be any more? Because he has 12 kids, but none of his kids are doing it. They're just into social media and having enough money to buy phones and so forth, a phone service. But it's dying out their art, and there are these useful ways of keeping alive. So the question, we're documenting him, and we're hoping others will go into the field. I mentioned Burning Man. I'm doing a documentary, my 20 years at Burning Man. This is 1 year. I did a kind of a PowerPoint of explaining Burning Man.
Did you just go this year?
I did go this year. Had a good time.
If you want to participate, they put you in these fire-resistant suits. You
Someone I know that goes every year said that it was up to $1,700 a spot, get a spot to go this year.
Well, I paid $1,500 for my ticket and $500 for my parking pass. It's quite expensive, but you can't spend money on anything else there because it's illegal to sell anything there. It's based on the gift economy. It's based on well, a lot of good principles: radical self-expression, radical inclusion, immediacy, community. And a lot of these things in my documentary, I'm trying to show how people can bring them home to their local community. These just happen to be slides, but let's look at something else. Well, this is a don't drink and drive thing I did for the high school. This is the bucket brigade. When the mudslide happened, I jumped in and documented them and made this so that they could help promote themselves.
Ladies on stilts and parading around, getting everybody treated for shows.
Oh, I have two videos going again. I guess I need to close my old videos.
Looking out into the fire.
I was at our kitchen table and he said,
We have to rethink the entire way we serve disasters that happen in scale.
This is a chapel. I forget the name of it in Montecito that got inundated with mud. Let's close that. Well, here's another. Oh, here's a candidates forum. I've done forums too. Like this is at the Alcazar.
That's about all I can remember from the public. Driving around, someone suggested that we need to cut money from the police officers' budget by not having them on site.
Police have been an issue off and on, the expense and whether we should have our own police or use the sheriffs.
So we need to have that safety.
I've always done AvoFest, although I'm not hired to do it this year. When Leah Boyd started doing social media for the city of Carp, I would make a short video of something like the AvoFest that they can put on the city's social media sites, and then a long video of the full thing that goes on their YouTube site. This is the Strong Person Contest. Got a few minutes left. Oh, I need to close that. One fun project, I made a music video with a band called the Dickheads, a punk band in 1979. And the lead singer of that band moved to Vietnam and that's him on the left, in the middle, became the lead singer, the punk band became sustainability director for Sea Delight, a company out of Florida. So they've hired me a number of times to go to Vietnam and make promotional videos of how they save animals and how they fish in a sustainable method. This was particularly fun, going to this island where turtles came up and
Our camera crew was alerted to the fact that a female turtle had come on shore to lay eggs.
couldn't have any light, but got the money shot there. So they're releasing them. I think one out of a few hundred survive, but that's enough. Yeah, the neat thing about my job is it's always a different subject matter, and that's been really fun that I get to learn about other things, and the internet obviously is helpful to learn about that. A couple more things. Here's a cart parade, a recent parade. Carpinteria Beautiful. I feel the parades are particularly important to document because it shows what groups were in town at the time and what the issues were. And what happened to carp quiz? Family Olympics, Avo Fest, carp quiz. Okay, Miss Carp. Carp quiz, family. Do you? Oh, you're right. Carp quiz was, I taught video production at the high school for 10 years, first period. And with the kids, we did this show, Carp Quiz. It's a quiz show about carpinteria. And we got prizes donated from bonds. And we got locals from the community.
I'm Vanessa Ladera. Welcome to Carp Quiz, an intergenerational game show about carpinteria then and now. Contestants, please introduce your partners.
This is my homeboy, George Bliss. He's an avocado farmer, and he likes to travel in his mobile home.
My partner is Dominic Dawson. He likes basketball. He also likes to listen to music.
This is Bonnie Milne. She has been retired for a very long time, and she's lived in carpinteria her whole life.
This is Tiandra Flynn. She's a junior.
I'm channeling.
And then it had long interviews with the participants.
The men's team?
C.
C, that's correct. Juan Carrillo.
I hope to do that again sometime. I wanted to take my family on a vacation and have it written off, so I came up with, maybe this is the last video. We'll do the Family Olympics. So I did this as a reality show. I tried to sell it. Didn't sell it, but I can still write it off as I tried. My son Steve. Well, anyway, I think my time's up. I'm happy to take any questions.